everybody, and welcome to today's Hospital Rooms Digital Art School. My name's Charley Peters and I'm an artist based in South London. I make paintings that are essentially abstract paintings. They don't represent anything from the real world. But what I really love about them is that they do sometimes suggest things that might be strangely familiar to you. So when I'm making paintings, I draw on lots of different visual influences in my work. And these are some of the things that we're going to talk about together today. This workshop is called Inspiration Remix, and what we're going to do is think about what makes us all feel really excited about being creative. Today, for the workshop, we've got on the table, we've got some paper in a variety of different colours. So I've got black and I've got white and I've got some different coloured backgrounds. And this is where we're going to start constructing our collages together. I've also got a range of art materials. What you want to work with is really up to you. But what I've got today is I've got some acrylic paint. I've got a glue stick because we're going to be sticking some things together. I've got some coloured pencils. And I've got a couple of paintbrushes, a palette knife. But you can also use a little strip of cardboard if you don't have a palette knife yourself. And I've got some scissors. So there'll be some things that we're cutting up, but there's also the opportunity to tear things as well. So today what I want us to think about is what elements of our life, our visual life, things that we've seen on TV or in reality or on the street or memories that we have that make us feel really excited about being visual and creative people. When I think about the things that have inspired me during my life, I obviously love looking at other paintings, like I love abstract painting. But I also have other more everyday influences, and I think sometimes these are the most exciting things about being an artist. We can bring in things from our real lives to what we do in the studio. So things that I brought today to show you that really inspire me and get me excited are, I have photographs that I take when I'm out on the streets. I really love living in the city and how busy it is and all that kind of visual stimulating stuff that you see when you're out on the streets. So this is a photograph of a shutter on the front of a shop with some graffiti on it. I love the different textures in it, and that's something that I try to bring into my paintings. As I say, I love being in the city. So this is a really great photo. This is off the internet. And I think this isn't a real city. This is something that's been digitally created. But I love the city at night with all the artificial lights and the neons and the signage. Also, when I was a kid, I loved watching TV. I probably watched loads too much TV, actually. But I think it really gave me an excitement about the visual world. And I loved watching cartoons about robots. So Transformers was one of my favourites. And then I also loved playing video games on my computer at home. And definitely the excitement of these little kind of 8 and 16-bit graphics has stayed with me as I've moved into adulthood and sort of played around in my studio making my work. So these are some of my influences. Yours will be very different, and it's good, I think, at the start of these kind of sessions to think about what your influences are. They might not be as busy and visually noisy as mine. You might be inspired by the countryside, or the sea, or animals, or wonderful memories from your past. And these are all really valid things to draw on when you're making work in the studio. So I'm going to start today. I'm just going to put these aside. They're there just to remind me of some of the things that I'm interested in. And then what I've got over here is some scraps of paper that have paint on. And these are things that I've prepared before the workshop because we don't have very much time to do these today. And I've also got some little elements to collage with. So these you can find in the Hospital Rooms resource pack on their website. These are my exciting influences, but of course you can find your own, which you might want to rip out of magazines, or you might want to use photographs that you've taken yourself. Today I'm going to make a couple of collages so we can look at the different ways of working and start to understand how, when we're constructing a pictorial space, we can change things around to give it a different sensibility. And what I love about collage is it's a really good way to work through ideas very quickly. It gives you the opportunity to move things around on the page so you can make really exciting and dynamic compositions. First thing I'm going to do is take a piece of paper. You can see some of these pieces over here that I prepared earlier. I have some elements that have paint splashed on them. Some of these have some scribbles that I've made with a pencil crayon. I love drawing with pencil crayon. It's a really nice soft material. And I'm very interested in opposite textures. So for me, that gives me a little bit of variety in some of the bits of paper that I'm going to use for a collage. And I have other things too, where I've kind of quite dramatically splashed paper on here. There's some like plain bits of colour. These are all really good to mix into your collages. But I'm going to show you to begin with just a little way to generate a sort of painted background very quickly. And here I've got a couple of different paints. Obviously you choose colours to suit you. I love bright colours, so that's why these are quite, punchy. And first thing I'm going to do is literally sort of throw or drop some paint onto the paper, and I'm going to smear it. So I'm going to make a bit of movement with it. And I love doing this on my canvases, and it's also really good to do on paper as well. So you can see it's acrylic paint. It's got a little bit of water mixed in it, so it's quite movable and a little bit more runny than it would be if it came out of the tube. And this is a really good technique because this allows you to sort of fill the pictorial space with paint in quite an exciting and dramatic way. So what I'm going to do is just going to drop the paint onto the piece of paper like that. Okay, it's a bit gloopy, but then you can really get behind it and give it a bit of power and make it move. And then what I like doing is splatting it on there. And then you get these really nice dramatic movements. Another little technique, which I'm going to do quite quickly, is this is a bit runnier, this paint. You can see it's got more water in it. So what I'm going to do here is scoop quite a lot up on my brush. Again, this is quite messy, so make sure you've covered any surfaces that you don't want to get dirty. And another way to make really good painty movements is just to splat it on the paper like that. And another good little technique is you get a second paintbrush, or you could use a coloured pencil or something. If you just tap it, then you get something that looks a little bit like spray paint. So if you don't have spray paint at home or where you're making your work today, this is a good way to pretend you've got spray paint. And it does nice little diffusions of colour. Okay, so obviously that's going to stay wet for quite a long time, so I'm not going to be able to use that one today. So I'm going to move that over to the side, just so it's out of the way to dry. I'm going to put it on the floor, actually. Okay, now, I'm going to get 2 bits of background paper, because I'm going to do a couple of things. Obviously, you can just work on one. And I've got 2 that look quite different. I've got a white piece of paper, and I've got one that's got colour. And then we can start to see how differently we can build up the picture together. So I'm going to go over to my pieces of background paper. I'm going to choose a couple that I like the look of. I really love this. It's got that beautiful, like, fluorescent pink. I'm just going to put that on there. You can see the difference in terms of like the feelings that you get by putting something on a white background or something that's coloured. And these are the types of decisions you can start making in the studio. So you can make collages that really kind of feel right to you. So I'm going to put that on there. It looks a little bit kind of spacey and sci-fi, which I really like. And then on this white one, I'm going to do something a bit different. So I'm going to get, which one should I use? I want something that feels a bit different to that one. Oh, you know what? I'm sure I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to put that there. So you see, we've got a border on this one. That's going to be quite different. I'm going to get my glue. I'm really happy with how that looks on the white, so I'm going to stick that down straight away. Okay, give it a good bit of glue, because this paper's quite thick and we want it to stick down well. If I was being really precious, I would measure this so it's in the middle, but actually today I'm just going to take it nice and easy and pop it down there. Okay, there we go. So that's nice. What I love about using thick paper is you can get these nice shadows, so it's almost like a kind of 3D effect that you can get on the paper. I'm also going to put this one on here. Okay. And I'm not going to put that one in the middle, I'm going to put that down the bottom. So we're using the colour in the background as part of the collage that we're making. Okay, so that's good. So we've got 2 different starting points. Now, I like working with opposites. I think it really kind of adds a little bit of interest to the work you're making. So I'm going to find something that feels a bit opposite to this. This is quite messy and vibrant. And over here, this is from the resource pack that you'll find on the Hospital Rooms website, I'm going to put something that is very geometric and hard edged, so that's quite different. I'm going to try and tuck that behind there actually, so it feels a bit like it's behind it. There we go. So you've got a nice bit of difference there. So there I'm starting to construct something that feels a little bit space agey, a little bit like kind of neon lights in the city, which I love, and a little bit like kind of computer graphics. And then I'm going to look at some of these little elements here. So some of these are things that I've cut out quite carefully with scissors. Again, these are in the resource pack. And when you rip things, it gives a very different feeling. So you can see the difference between putting something with a very hard edge next to that, which sort of helps it calm down a little bit. But if you have something that's a little bit ripped, it has a lot more energy, and I love that. So I'm going to put that one on here. I'm going to put these on here, because again, this has got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of movement. So what I'm going to do is try to calm it down a little bit. And I'm going to arrange these properly first. Okay, so I'm going to do it in order of size, because then we can get a sense that these things are coming from the background to the foreground as well. And what's nice about doing collages within the border is that you can break the border, so it really looks like there's a lot of stuff going on where it's coming from maybe behind something into the front. Okay, I'm really happy with this one actually. This feels like it's nicely balanced and composed. There's a lot of energy in it and a lot of nice comparisons between what's very kind of busy and what's a little bit more precise. So it feels like that one I'm really happy with. This one I think it needs a little bit something else. So what I'm going to do is just look back in my pack of stuff here. I quite like these. So these are a bit of an opposite shape to the star. These are little kind of pearly looking circles. And I think what I'm going to do with these is, again, it's a bit like creating your own little world, this, which I love. I think I'm going to just work out how I can get them relating to this star. So it feels like they're coming maybe over here, because there's not much going on there. And yeah, that looks nice because it fills up that bit of the composition, but it also feels like it's a little bit different to what's going on here. So I'm going to stick those down here. Okay, great. So I've got a really nice couple of collages here that are using some different techniques, and we've thought about how to break up the way that the paper is constructed to feel like we've got like backgrounds and foregrounds, and we've got lots of exciting different things going on that reference some of the things that we talked about earlier in terms of what inspires me. Obviously, when you make your own, the different elements could be quite specific to you. Okay, so I'm just going to hold these up to the camera. So these both finished. These are my collages from today. They're two quite different collages. Think about the difference that the background colour makes and the different techniques that you can use to apply colours, textures and mark making to your collages, because it really brings them to life. Okay, thank you for joining me today on the Hospital Rooms Digital Art School. I've been Charley Peters, and I hope you've had a good time in my studio today. Enjoy making your collages.